morning and welcome to the Exposing Deception broadcast. I'm your host, Brian Delory, and I thank you all for tuning in to the program this morning. And on today's program, I'm going to be discussing the police killings in Dallas, Texas, which took place, I believe, on Friday during a Black Lives Matter protest march. Now, the Black Lives Matter is nothing more than a domestic terrorist organization, in my opinion. If you just look at the slogans they chant during their marches, pigs in the blanket, fry them like bacon. The other one is one we want dead cops. When do we want them? We want them now, something like that. This tells you that this organization is not a peaceful organization. And the spokesmoron for Black Lives Matter, a thug by the name of Jeff Hood, who's always sticking his stupid face on the TV camera with his illiterate rhetoric, I believe is a bad person. And I'm not the only one who believes this, but you can just watch Police Chief Dave Clark out of oh my goodness, Wisconsin. I think his name is Patrick Brosnan. I heard him on Fox News expressing his views about the Black Lives Matter movement, and Mr. Hood and other people. I can't remember them all by name, but a lot of people don't have good things to say about Jeff Hood, and all you have to do is check out his Twitter feed, and he has issued a lot of racist and incendiary tweets about white people and the Black Lives Matter movement, and all sorts of things. This guy is a bad dude. And I said all that to say this, that this march was not, the route for this march, as far as I've been able to determine, and many others have been able to determine, was not posted in the newspaper. And yet I find it curious that the gunman knew exactly where to start shooting. And now Dave, I believe is Dave, the police chief of Dallas is Dave Brown, I believe, and he's made it clear that they're going to investigate this thing until they make sure everything is the way it seems. And if they find out that anyone else was involved, then they're going to go after those people and prosecute them. My personal opinion that someone at the top of the Black Lives Matter movement tipped off this gunman. They knew of his plans and what he wanted to do. He wanted to kill white cops, and so they knew the route that these people would be taking, and so he would know exactly which building to be on top of when he started shooting. And this is what I believe. And now you don't have to believe it, but I believe it. And you can trace the origins of this all the way back to Barack Obama, George Soros. These organizations are funded by George Soros and allowed to operate freely in this country by the policies of Barack Obama for the sole purpose of destabilizing our country. And this is the work of Barack Obama. Make no mistake about it. He's behind the whole things. He's behind the whole thing. They've visited him in the White House. He's put out a statement through his attorneys general, Loretta Lynch mob, and she really basically had nothing new to offer on the subject, just a pre-written statement. She probably didn't even write it. Very, there's a word for it, but I can't think of it right now. But no emotion when she read the statement. Took no questions. I mean, the whole thing smells. And of course, one thing that this does is it takes the focus off of Hillary's the FBI's refusal to indict Hillary over the email scandal, and takes James Comey and Hillary Clinton out of the picture. This covers that up. I mean, you have no idea how I can't think of the word right now, but how duplicitous your president is, how duplicitous the news media is, and the news media perpetuates this narrative about all the white cops are killing all the black people, and it's because of them and many others that they've fanned the flames through their incendiary rhetoric and gotten these movements started, and now they're threatening to kill more police, and it's already started to happen. They haven't killed any yet, but they've certainly wounded some, and so this is a very big problem. Now, Barack Obama should be impeached. He should be impeached for this, and here's my concern. That's never going to happen. I can tell you that. He'll never be impeached. I don't see any congressmen, congresswomen coming out and standing up and speaking out against Barack Obama. Now, some other, I believe, again, Police Chief Dave Brown, others have spoken out against Obama and his policies and his incendiary rhetoric that's led to all this. And if you ever notice Obama's face when he talks about this, you can see him smiling. You can see it on his face. This pig, this Muslim pig of a president whom I thoroughly despise, and I wish him nothing but evil all the days of his life, he is behind all this, and he's happy about it. And what he's attempting to do, on top of everything else, there's a lot of things combined here that he's attempting to do, but one thing he's attempting to do is to get the racial tension so high in this country that we start having race riots, then he will be able to declare martial law and remain president indefinitely. That's what he wants. He will suspend all elections, everything that goes along with implementing martial law, and Barack Obama will remain president, and he will finish the job that he started. That's what this is headed towards. I no more believe there's going to be an election held in November than I believe I'm going to be the next man on the moon. This is building, and I've been saying it on this program for years, that this is coming, that Barack Obama is not going to allow a smooth transition to occur when it comes time for the election. He's going to do everything he can to hold on to power, and it looks to me like his plan so far is working. So this is what is going on in the country. I am so angry, and I'm sure you can tell. I can barely speak. I mean, I am just livid about what's going on and what's allowed to go on day after day after day under this godless scumbag of a pig president. And that's all he is. He's no more a president than I'm a monkey's uncle. He's a disease. He's a cancer and a disgrace to the United States of America. And I pray that Donald Trump is elected, and I pray that Donald Trump holds him accountable for all of these things that are happening, because these policemen that have been killed, their blood and all the other bloodshed that's resulted or taken place as a result of Obama's policies, that blood is on the hands of Barack Obama. All the people who have been murdered by ISIS, that blood is on the hands of Barack Obama. And make no mistake about it, the day will come when God will judge Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, Eric Holder, Loretta Lynch mob, and all the rest of his leftist gang he has in the White House, and God will deal with them better than any human system or any human being could ever do. Believe you me, and it's coming. And thanks to all you liberals who voted this piece of garbage in the first place. And I hope that if ISIS attacks begin occurring in the United States, and if Hillary is elected, they most assuredly will. I hope that you liberals are the recipients of the attacks first. After all, you brought these people into office, and their policies have caused these attacks to occur because they've disarmed the military, so they attack a military base, and the soldiers can't defend themselves. Just on and on it goes. One disastrous policy after the other, and what isn't passed through Congress is signed into executive order, and of course the congressmen are as complicit as Obama for allowing this to happen. And I hope and I pray with all my heart and soul that if you liberals, particularly if you're a male liberal, and you've supported Obama, supported Hillary Clinton, I hope the ISIS attacks happen to you first. And I hope that they break into your house, break down your door, rape your daughters and your wife in front of you, and then cut their heads off while you're watching. And then I pray that they slowly burn you alive. Tell me how happy you are with Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton then. Tell me that then, because you have allowed this to happen by voting these people into office and standing behind them and supporting them. So it's only fitting that you should reap what you've sown. You've sown this into this country. You've sown into the countries around the world. So therefore, you supported it. You supported them. They could do no wrong in your eyes. In my opinion, you deserved to get hit first, and that's the way I feel about it. Now, let me close this out with this. These two recent police shootings last week, one in Baton Rouge and the other one in Minnesota with Alton Sperling, who was a known gang member, who was a known pedophile, who was a known wife abuser, and many other things, was shot and killed by the police. From what I've seen of that video, that was a justified killing. That's my personal opinion. And this is what the Black Lives Matter is marching over, a thug like this one. That killing was justified. Now, I do not know what happened in the Philando Castile case. It seems to me that the police officer was either nervous or he really thought he had good reason to shoot this guy, shot him 4 times, and he died. And when I looked him up online, you found that he worked in a school cafeteria. He was a really smart guy. He graduated high school, didn't have any felonies, wasn't any member of a gang. And then all of a sudden, I started reading that he supports the Black Panthers. And of course, he buys into all this racial garbage that's being perpetuated by the news media and the Obama administration. Him and his sister, just hours before he was killed by a police officer, his sister tweeted out something about the killing of Alton Sperling in Baton Rouge, and the same old rhetoric. We're being persecuted by the white policeman. And Philando had put something on his page about the Black Panthers. The Black Panthers have a slogan, "By any means necessary." He also made reference to being slaves, and just the typical idiotic rhetoric that's being spewed on social media all day long, every day. And so, at first, when I first heard about the killing, I said, well, this police officer, this was bad news. And I'm not saying the killing was justified or unjustified. I really can't say, but it certainly looks like something went wrong. If the man was merely reaching for his wallet, I don't know why he was shot. According to his attorney, Mr. Castile, I'm sorry according to the police officer's attorney, one of the police officer's attorney, the police officer shot Mr. Castile because he had seen the gun. Yet, according to the girlfriend, he had already informed the police that he was licensed to carry. So I really don't understand what happened. But regardless of whether or not it was justified, I do believe in the judgment of God. Now, here's a man who lives in the United States of America, had held down a good job for 15 years. He was well liked. The kids there liked him, but he still was holding on to these racist views about the United States and being slaves in the United States and all these police killings and the things I've been talking about for the last 15 minutes. And so I say to myself, well, if that's what you believe about your country, where you obviously have had wonderful opportunity, then, you got what you deserved. You supported these ideas of Black Lives Matter, Black Panthers. You supported their ideology. You supported their organizations. And so as far as I'm concerned, whether the killing was justified or not is irrelevant to me. In the mind of God, you are justified. He was justified, rather, in taking you out. And I believe it was God's judgment on you. You're living with your girlfriend. You're living in adultery and living in sin, and then holding on to views about your country that are not true. I don't feel sorry for him anymore. That's just my personal opinion. I'm not saying the killing was justified or unjustified. It appears, at least at this point, that it was unjustified. And something else a little strange about that. I see the video of the girlfriend. Here's the Philando. He's collapsed, sort of lying on her, bleeding to death. And yet she had the presence of mind to pull out her cell phone and broadcast his death on social media. Then the next day, she was seen where at the governor Mark Dayton's residence, in front of the residence. There was some sort of gathering there, and she's screaming that the police are killing us because we're black. And then you watch the sellout governor capitulating to the scum, screaming at him, and he tells the news media that he believes that if the couple had been white, that he doesn't believe they would have been shot, that Philando would have been shot. Now, he just undermined his own police department. And as far as I'm concerned, the piece of filth should be forced to resign. If he doesn't resign, the state of Minnesota should recall him. That's what should happen. And so that's all I have to say. I'm really angry about these things. I'm really angry, really angry about what's happening in my country. I have no sympathy for anyone who tries to kill a police officer, who refuses to obey the orders of a police officer when they're stopped. And if they so happen to be carrying a gun and they had their hand on that gun and the police officer feels like his life is in danger and he kills him, I have no sympathy. Now, in the case of Philando, whether it's justified or not, I have no sympathy for him because he was a sympathizer of these racist groups in America. And so he was part of the problem and not the solution. And again, I have a real problem with someone who could broadcast the death of someone they love on social media. And I realized that she wasn't allowed to move. The cop kept telling her, keep your hands on the wheel, keep your hands on the wheel. She had to do what he said. I agree with that. But I mean, that was the first thing she could think to do, because the first thing no matter that her boyfriend was dying next to her, the first thing she thought of was, oh, he was shot by a racist cop, and I'm going to broadcast it on social media, and everybody's going to march in the streets. Now, she's on there shedding crocodile tears the night of that the Dallas police officers were slain. I don't believe that she was genuinely sad for that. It's just crocodile tears, because these people are all one and the same, and I have no sympathy for any of you. You understand me? You're repugnant to me. You're despicable, and I have no sympathy for you whatsoever. Make no mistake about it, I am a Christian, but I don't believe. All you're doing is perpetuating a lie. You all are liars, because it's been statistically proven that there is no way that black males are being shot by white police officers in record number. In fact, it's been thoroughly disproven, and I'll get into the statistics of that some other time. I'm sure that a lot of you will not like what you heard on this broadcast today, what I said about the liberals who unleashed this hell upon us, but it's the way I feel. I feel that if you support something, and by the way, I have an ally in this, and we don't know each other, but his name is Pastor James David Manning, and he so much as said the same thing about the judgment of God falling on this nation on those people who've brought in Barack. I'm having trouble speaking. I'm really upset. He talked about the judgment of God falling on those who have elected Obama to the office of the President of the United States, particularly those who have elected them for the second time. Remember, the first time, all the conservative talking heads were screaming, do not elect this guy. He's a Marxist. He follows the playbook of Saul Alinsky, and on it went. And sure enough, and of course, everybody, oh, you're racist. Oh, you talk show hosts are racist. And it turned out to be true, and he's done worse